Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wrestling with the Paranormal. And today we got some creepy, scary shit with this author down here. He's gonna tell you stuff that's gonna make you shit your pants. All on Wrestling with the Paranormal.
Hello, everyone. I am, of course, Canada Dry, the only one that makes you burp at 3 o'clock in the morning.
And of course, I am the magician. Of course, every paranormal show's got to have a magician, right?
Yes, and tell them a bit about our show.
This is the only paranormal show made for wrestling fans by wrestling fans.
And we have, of course, below us, we got Austin Lee. Introduce yourself, Austin.
You just did? No, I'm just kidding. Appreciate you guys having me on. Austin Lee, 16-3 from the AFW League. Appreciate you guys having me on, man. I've been looking forward to this.
Okay, so we're going to talk about this a little later. So you have a book that you wrote, and it's a true story.
I do. Yes, absolutely. Right, got it right here. So excited to talk about that with you guys, and we'll get into that in just a little bit. So,
sweet.
Let's see, we got Joseph Graham watching. Thanks, your faithful friend here, always helping us out with some views and some comments. So, as always, we get into the next part of our show, which is around the effing galaxy. And we're big around the effing galaxy. So what do we got today, Liam?
Well, I will start off with some exciting news. If I say we've got a special guest on your show Sunday, do you want to tell people about this?
Okay, guys, get ready for the ratings to just pop off the roof right now. You guys ready? Natalia Markova posted this, I think it was Monday on Twitter. Wow. Hi, caramba. I don't like green, but somehow green on a bathing suit on Natalia Markova looks amazing.
Absolutely.
Now, we have her on Sunday. It's been almost a year since she was on the podcast last. So it's lots to talk about. So she has been touring with Smashing Pumpkins.
Interesting. I have seen some of her recent matches, and you can tell she's really come a long way.
Yeah, so we are going to find out about what she's doing with Billy Corgan and how that came about and all that kind of stuff. And she's really had some good pairings with Max the Impaler lately as well.
Yes. Yeah.
So what do we got next?
Well, so sadly we have some really sad news that Nash's son has obviously passed away at the age of 26. This is quite sad because he's actually younger than me. Do you know what I mean? So as thoughts go out to Nash, but yeah, your thoughts.
That was also on Scott Hall's birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it's always, hard to imagine losing a child, no matter what age, but it's just not supposed to happen like that. The kids are supposed to bury the parents, not the other way around. And Nash, I've met him a couple of times, and he has always been super nice and really cool, stuck around to talk and everything. So definitely thoughts and prayers out to the Nash family.
Absolutely. But it's like I said, the age of 26, it's just no age whatsoever, is it?
No, really unfortunate.
So, what else do we got?
So this week, obviously, Hangman's had a really nasty bump. I've not seen it yet because obviously I don't get to watch the show till tonight. So I've seen a lot of reports saying
what all the hype is about, right?
But yeah, the bump with Hangman, I've obviously seen a lot of comments saying it was pretty nasty. But your thoughts on this?
Austin, what do you think?
Well, it was so weird how that whole thing happened, and Liam just said he hasn't seen it yet. But in real time, watching the match, I remember thinking, like, what just happened? It didn't look like anything too crazy until you started slowing it down and seeing the replays of how nasty the landing was. And it could have gone. I know how serious concussions are and everything, so I don't mean to undersell that by any means, but this is one of those situations that it could have gone drastically worse. And thankfully, if you want to say it like
the
that,
neck
it's
is
just a
so
concussion.
important, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. An inch or two, one or the other way, he could have been fine, could have broke his neck, could be paralyzed. Just glad that it's just a concussion, and he should be 100% sooner rather than later.
Yeah, let's talk about that a bit. Sorry, I didn't read that out. I just said it was clearly an accident. It's a joke that people are calling for Mox to be fired. Are these people just AEW haters that are saying this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we know as fans, I mean, the fan base can actually be quite toxic. As soon as something happens like this, I mean, Joseph said there it's an accident. Alex said I've not seen it yet, but I'm pretty sure it was an accident. But the fan base itself, they can be so outspoken, vocal. Sometimes it actually annoys me as a fan.
Austin and I were talking earlier, and tell them what we were talking about, Austin.
About which part?
I guess we were talking about a lot.
Yeah, we were talking quite a bit.
We had a good, nice 20-minute chat about.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we covered a lot.
We were talking about CM Punk.
Sure. Today. Yeah. Obviously, yeah, big news today. I don't know if you guys want to take it away or what.
Go ahead.
The headlines have read today that Tony Khan and the All Elite Wrestling crew are working towards a buyout of CM Punk's contract. Then you informed me Triple H has said that he's open to a CM Punk return. This is big news both ways, for both companies here. And, my question to you, we can ask Liam too. In my viewpoint, to me, for what it's worth, not that I'm anybody in particular or anybody special, but to me, it doesn't matter whose fault it is. The most, you can point the fingers or whatever, but the most disappointing thing from a fan perspective is that, at least again, in my opinion, CM Punk was telling some of the best stories in the ring of his career, in my opinion. And there was so much more that could have come to fruition there. And, especially with the MJF thing and, I think it's just really unfortunate that the fans miss out on that. And so my question to you was, what are the realistic odds or chances that in 2024 WWE is the company telling the CM Punk and MJF story?
Oh, MJF, you're going to put in there too.
That was where it was supposed to go.
So I'll start with the CM Punk thing. I think it's highly unlikely he would go back to WWE. I think that he's outspoken there quite a lot, how he felt there. I think that bridge is literally set sail. Regards to MJF, I think that is a possibility. I think he would go to WWE. But I think the character would not actually work in WWE. I think that there were too many shackles.
Yeah, I think it would be a very watered down version of MJF. But I don't know if you guys have seen some of the interviews, particularly right before CM Punk had joined AEW, where they were mentioning, some of the changes that had left, people being granted time off in WWE, and he was mind blown. I don't know. I would never say never that he wouldn't go back, especially if the money's right, the stories are there. 2 times now, we were supposed to get the continuance of CM Punk and MJF, and it was cut short, obviously due to injury and this
CM
unfortunate
Punk
situation.
MJF story was so fun.
I know that's what's so disappointing in my mind. Of man, you come back from injury, you're getting ready to pick up where you were supposed to have left off, and then you immediately get injured. And it's just, I wonder how much of the all out scrum stems from his frustration of that, because I know he was really invested into that story, CM Punk.
I think my injury and his injury are very similar, actually. I think that he
Right.
had that same thing on his arm.
Right. Yeah. Again, just an unfortunate situation, and especially for the AEW fans that are so passionate and everything, that to have it cut short. And if this is the end of CM Punk's career, what a shame that it ended the way that it did.
Well, someone was saying that it's very similar to the way his hero left wrestling.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Bret
Kind
Hart,
of ironic how that happens.
just
Yeah.
kind of fizzled out. I think Bret's wasn't really his fault as much as CM Punk's was partially his fault and his frustration.
Just ask Bret; he'll tell you.
But there was no Young Bucks in Bret Hart's area. It was just a bit more. There's probably like 50 Young Bucks in
Right.
WCW.
Yeah.
Controlling things. Which brings me to our next story. So you can maybe change it up here. Bret Hart, when he went to WCW on his first day, we came across this a signature spot. Have you heard of those guys?
Yeah. Is this about the locker room?
Yeah. Did you read that?
Yeah.
That one was interesting. So let me just read it out here. Perry Saturn on Bret Hart's first day in WCW and the class he showed. Saturn, it's his first day in WCW, and I'm walking in the building with him. We're talking. In WCW, the superstars guys like Hulk Hogan, they had their own private dressing room. So we're walking down the hallway, and we get to our dressing room, and there's a sign on the door that says Bret Hart. And Bret goes, "What's this?" And I go, "That's your dressing room." He goes, "Come on, get the fuck out of here." I go, "No, it's your dressing room. We'll be down here. Hogan's over there." And Bret looked and tore the sign off the wall, then went and told Eric, "Don't you ever do that to me again. I dress with the fucking boys." Bret Hart was down to earth, and if you're going to work with him, he's going to bust his ass with everything. That's pretty cool. That's a cool story.
I love these stories with what you hear from backstage, because it's just like it opens your eyes to what it's like backstage.
Well, you kind of get the idea that's who Bret is, and he's if Hulk Hogan's a certain way, Bret Hart's the polar opposite.
Right.
What do you think of that story, Austin?
Exactly like Liam said. I've always loved hearing these types of stories where you get a little bit of a better look at who somebody actually is, especially a guy like Bret, that was so big, was so over, and could have easily had such an ego, and especially back then before dirt sheets and everything like that. I was always a Shawn Michaels fan. And then you start hearing about, again, a polar opposite of Bret here, what a nightmare he was to work with. And it gets a little disappointing there. But here you have something positive for somebody that meant so much to so many different people. So it's an amazing story. I love hearing that stuff.
So I guess we'll talk about Ric Flair.
Yes, so obviously last week we spoke about territories on the All If in Wrestling show. Now Vice has put out a thing called Tales from the Territories. So we're going to focus on Ric Flair now with this story.
Okay, before we get in that, Rick posted something. He talked about this on his To Be the Man podcast. And we're just going to, we posted this on our Twitter, but we're going to, so he said, "I think that Ashley Charlotte Flair wrestling Bianca Belair at WrestleMania could be the next Austin and Rock. Is he high when he's saying this?
I think so. I mean,
Yeah,
no,
he's back on the bottle.
no disrespect
he's
to
known to sell the ganja. He's got some ganja deals.
Yeah.
no disrespect to Charlotte Flair or Bianca Belair, but I don't think they're as big as Rock and Austin. No offense.
Yeah, proud dad. I get you. Saying something, hyping your daughter up, but come on, brother.
Joseph says, Rick has lost all sense of reality.
Yeah, if he really believes that, then 100% he is. He's out of.
Well, we were also talking, Austin, before the show. Do you think Bianca Belair is a star?
Oh man, no disrespect to anybody that works in this line of business. I have the utmost respect for all of those men and women that go in there and do such an incredible job.
This is not the answer
working to get better, but no, she's one I just don't see it. I don't know. That's as nice as I can put it.
I have to agree with Austin. I think that I don't see it. I mean, I've seen her matches, and I won't say they're mediocre, but they're just like I can't get invested in them.
100%. I can't, for whatever reason. She doesn't connect with me, and I can't invest in any story that she's
cartoony with that hair, right?
Yeah. I don't know if she just if that's part of it as her presentation, or what have you, but I don't see anything from her side of the equation that would be in the same ballpark as Rock and Austin.
Okay, so as we were talking earlier, Tales from the Territories this week focused on AWA. And they told a story of Vern Gagne training Ric Flair in his, I guess it was his barn. Mm-hmm. And one day Ric Flair did not show up for training. And they're like, where's Rick? And Vern Gagne was told that Ric Flair quit. And Vern had to drive to Ric Flair's house and knock on the door. And he's like, what are you doing, Rick? He's like, oh, I quit. He's like, no, you didn't. And slaps Ric Flair's face. And he tells Ric Flair, get in the effing car. And I guess Ric Flair got in the car and went back to work. And Vern Gagne pretty much single-handedly saved Ric Flair's career before it even started.
Yeah, but look at Ric Flair now. I mean, he's absolutely probably one of the top legends. I mean, some of his matches back in the 80s were probably some of my favorites.
Did you hear the story I just shared there, Austin?
Yes. Yeah, I got to echo what Liam's saying. What a career that he had. Some of those matches, particularly in the 80s, him and Steamboat and, those types of matches are just all-time classics. Now, hard to imagine a wrestling world without the Nature Boy.
So Vern Gagne, probably the most underrated influencer in all of wrestling. Agreed?
I would agree. He's got to be in the discussion, yeah.
Because without Vern Gagne, there's no Hulk Hogan.
Right.
There's no Ric Flair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, hard to argue.
It's facts, plain and simple.
So the next story we got from Tales of Territory that we learned is on a rickety old plane. They were just about to take off. And Adrian Adonis says, uh-oh. And Bobby the Brain is like, what's up? He's like, I have to take a massive shit. And he's like, well, you can't do that. We're taking off. And so Adrian's like, well, I'll try and hold it. But as time went, he's like, I'm not going to be able to make it. Like, I got to go. And so Bobby the Brain Heenan thought he had an idea. He's like, okay, there's a garbage bag over here. I will hold it while you shit in it. And
Wow.
and so he's holding the bag, but Adrian, I guess it was just this massive explosion. And shit goes all over Bobby's hand. He lets go of the bag. The
Oh,
shit in the
man.
plane. And they've got to go this whole way with all the shit everywhere. So they finally land, and Bobby and Adrian end up cleaning up the plane. It takes them about a half an hour to clean up the plane. And they're not, I guess they're not on the plane on the way back or whatever. And
Wonder why.
and so Mad Dog Vachon is, though. And they're like, why does this plane still smell like shit? And I guess Bobby and Adrian left the bag in there.
Oh, that's nice of him.
And so Mad Dog Vachon, he's playing on a different level. He's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Yeah, he says, "Listen, guys, if you just put your face right in the bag and just smell it really good, you won't be affected by it afterwards."
Oh no!
And there's shit all over his face.
Oh no.
And this is just one of those things, just one of those stories that you just, what happened here?
Wow.
That must have been a shit plane ride.
That was a shitty freaking.
Yeah. What a shitty ride.
Oh dear.
What else do we got, Liam? Do we cover everything?
No, we've got one more thing. Now, NXT deadline is to go against ROH Final Battle on December 10th. So we're going to get ROH and we're going to get NXT on the same day. What do we think?
So is NXT now just like, well, we can't take on AEW. Maybe we can refocus and take on ROH. Your thoughts on this, Austin? I think it's called, what's it called, Deadline?
Yes, NXT deadline.
So, I mean, a couple little tidbits there for the Ring of Honor piece. Tony had also shared that we should get an update soon on weekly programming for Ring of Honor soon. As far as WWE, trying to, counter program an AEW, now Ring of Honor pay-per-view, I'm not surprised by any means, but if you beat Ring of Honor, like, do you feel good about that? Like I guess
NXT Ring of Honor, are they kind of more compatible though?
Right. I don't know, man. I mean, who knows
Like,
what's going to come with
Ring of Honor more AEW's developmental now going to be?
I guess.
It's like, it remains to be seen what Tony's going to do with this, but that's kind of my thoughts on it was, there'd be a little bit of star power there, but yeah, essentially be another show.
What they did last time, what Tony Khan said last time when they put another show up against him, he was pissed.
He went nuts. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, I got more fucking money.
Yeah. That's what they want to do.
The interesting thing I've got, though, is what day will Ring of Honor be on? Like, what day in the week would we say?
I just thought of an idea the other day is you turn Rampage into a 2-hour show and you make the second hour be Ring of Honor. That would be bad.
I originally said combine Dark and Dark Elevation and put it on the Tuesday.
Yeah.
Well, then you're competing with NXT.
It doesn't matter what day you're going to pick. You're going to compete anyway. If you put it on Thursday, you're competing with Impact. You put it on Friday, you're competing with SmackDown. So you can't win regardless.
Yeah.
I would say fuck it and move Rampage to Saturday and make it a 2-hour show with Ring of Honor. And you could even, for those Saturday shows, I guess, move it to Fridays for those days.
Did you see the report from, I think it was Alfred Konuwa, who said that from what he hears, it would be wise for AEW fans to subscribe to HBO Max with a winking face?
Oh.
I did not see that.
I know Tony's been working on a streaming platform, trying to put a library up there. I mean, who knows?
This might be more, though, than just Ring of Honor, though.
Yeah, could be. Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
I think that's an interesting comment there. I've just read that.
If they do, then Rampage needs a different name, different time slot. 10 midnight is rough in the East Coast.
Yeah, agree. If they go to 2 hours, they'll definitely need to move it up a little bit.
Well, that's why you move it to Saturday. You're not competing with anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then for pay-per-views, you move it to Friday.
Yeah, that's possible. I mean, we know what Tony Khan's like. We never actually can predict what he's going to do, so I guess we just have to watch.
Yeah.
Noob says then we have to be with WD. What's PLE?
I think that meant to say pay-per-views.
Oh, that's premium live events. I forget that's what the name they call it now, because premium live events. All right, is that it? We can go to the vault now, I guess.
We can go to the vault. That wraps up our effing Galaxy news.
And so, yeah, let's take a look at the vault. It looks like it's time to open up the vault.
Do you know the combination? So, Canada Dry, what's in the vault this week?
You know how creepy your voice sounds in that thing?
Yes, I do.
Do you know the combination?
Oh dear. So, obviously, we had a good little look in the vault last week. What's in the vault this week?
We have. So did we talk a bit about the Ogo Pogo on the show? Or was that in private?
That might have been in private.
Okay, so the Ogo Pogo is Canada's Loch Ness Monster. And it's here in the West Coast. And he has a bit of a legendary sort of thing. The native Canadians here in British Columbia, they are the ones that discovered him. And we had a sighting. And it's an amazing picture. So you guys want to take a look at this.
What the?
So if you look, you can see eyes, you can see a snout, you can see a mouth, and you can see horns.
Looks like a fox underwater.
Yeah, that was what I thought when I first saw this.
Face.
If you look at that closely, I'm seeing a fox, and it might have just been me.
It kind of looks like a crocodile / giraffe. So yeah,
I mean, what do you think? Is there some validity to this? Do you think it's?
I absolutely 100% believe in the Ogopogo.
As a true Canadian.
Yeah. Right. He's as real as the Loch Ness Monster. There have been lots of sightings of him, right?
Maybe they're related.
Probably the same creature. Maybe it's just a dinosaur that the legs are big enough that can survive underwater.
Long lost cousin.
Yeah. So yeah, that's an interesting thing. I guess let's get right into our main event. We got lots of these. Story time with Canada Drive, baby.
Do you know, I almost forgot we got a new intro for that.
Yes, get ready for the magic. So we're talking about Austin Lee's book. Where do we start with this, Austin?
I was counting on you guys to kind of lead me into it where you wanted to go, but yeah,
Well, I'll take questions as we go, but
yeah.
we'll make them up. We'll link them.
yeah,
I've
okay.
got
So
one. I've
you
got.
got the book there.
Yeah. I've got it right here, available pretty well anywhere that books are sold. Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Walmart, Books A Million. It's in about 100 different countries right now. So
That is a killer. That's a killer picture, by the way.
I thought the publishers did such a great job. The team that we worked with were so cool and creative, and that was all them. The design that I had originally pitched was nowhere close to this. They knocked that out of the park. I thought it turned out fantastic.
So did you work with Kimberly? What's her name? Kimberly Parsons?
Yeah, Kimberly is my mom.
Oh,
Yeah. So it's all kind of started. I don't know if you still have those pictures that I had sent to you, Aaron, but she bought a house about 6 or 7 years ago in the Bloomington, Indiana area. And from the night that she moved in, she was seeing things. So about a year ago, she put up cameras around her house. She's got 5 or 6 cameras in the house and immediately started capturing some of the best evidence that I've ever seen. Now she's
posted these. We posted these pictures exclusively to this show at the time.
Yeah. So she's got about 500 or 600 pictures now of things. Just every day she's seeing something. So she wanted me to do a book about that, and I was like, I don't know if there's enough to do a book and put a story with it. She originally wanted to do like a journal entry type of thing, and it's like, I don't think anybody has any interest in reading a journal entry.
Well, if you're famous, they would.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I was just like, I wouldn't want to read it. I have no interest in writing that. So I kind of kicking around like, look, like between both of us from, the house that I grew up in till I was 14 and the things that have happened since, I think if we put them both together, we could have something here. And not only just the paranormal things, we've done it as a memoir type of novel.
So it's pretty much a true story novel then.
Yeah. Like I was telling you, we had to change a couple of things to avoid any potential legal ramifications or lawsuits about some of the people that we were talking about in there, because it's very personal. Even for, I know your audience here obviously is into the paranormal, but for those that are skeptical of it, there are so many life stories in there that you can connect to the troubles and setbacks. There's something for everybody in there. I'm very proud of the way that it turned out.
Okay, so it's doing well then?
It is doing very well. Came out right at the end of July and has stayed inside the top 1% of book sales since its release. And the publishers just shared with us last week or the week before that they are working on, now that we've obtained the bestseller status, we've hit the bestsellers list 5 or 6 different times since its release.
Wow.
That they are officially starting the book to film proposal, and that's going to be sent out to 200 executives in Hollywood and New York and around the world to see if we can get it made into a movie.
So the question is, who's playing me? Like, we did the podcast. You were original host of this show, so there's got to be a wrestling with the paranormal on this show.
I'm biased, okay? I'm a little biased, but there can only be one true Canada Dry and Canadian Crush. It's got to be you.
I forgot about that character.
It's got to be you. If when it comes down to that point in the movie, we've got to get the real deal in there.
Oh yeah, well, we'll hold a can of Canada Dry and just guzzle it back. And...
That's right. Burping at 3 a.m.
Do you have any questions for him? I got a few questions, but I want to let Liam.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm curious to know, how did you come up with the name Fight of My Life?
I don't know. I came up with that. My mom was, again, she was the driving force behind wanting to do this. And, if I told her if I wrote it, that my viewpoint of it would be, what it came out to be. I would write one chapter as my mom and then go to my perspective and kind of alternate back and forth a little bit there. She had some ideas for titles, and not that they weren't good, just wasn't just didn't hit home. And I just kind of threw that out there. It's like, look, like we've gone through a lot of stuff in our lives. We've really had to fight to get where we are and where we wanted to be. And you're continuing to fight with everything that's going on down there in her home that she's still dealing with today, that it just kind of made sense that way. And then, the subtitle of it is My Battle with the Paranormal. So it just kind of stuck that way. I threw something up against the wall. It just happened to stick.
Now, you have told me, past, that you've been dealing with this pretty much your whole life.
Yeah.
Has your mom been dealing with this whole life as well?
Not necessarily her whole life. A couple of things here and there, but really heavy since she's bought this house 6 or 7 years ago. And it's been a daily thing for her since. But yeah, the house that I grew up in and lived in till I was 14, it was the same type of deal for me. It was nearly every day that I dealt with something. And then, now it's kind of flipped. Now it's me kind of sporadically here and there, things will happen. And she's got the everyday experience going on.
So let me ask you this question.
Sure.
How old were you when you saw your first ghost or demon or whatever it was?
Sure. Yeah. My first memory really of me in that house was something, and this is in the book as well, but of seeing this. Yeah, I saw I was probably 2-ish, maybe 3, potentially, right around that age, very little. And I was seeing, my clothes. I had spent the night, my sister and I had spent the night at my grandma's house. And my mom and dad had gone out for a rare date night, and things were happening that night. My clothes came up missing, and I was watching them. I was following them, floating through the air and going upstairs.
Whoa! that's crazy. They're floating, and you're following them.
I'm watching them. Yeah, I recall very vividly. They're trying to find my clothes because my grandma had just folded them up and put them, on the edge of the bed in the guest room, waiting for my parents to come pick us up, have our stuff ready to go. And then she turns around and they're gone, and I'm following them up the stairs.
Now, did you tell someone this and they didn't believe you, or?
Yeah. My dad, my mom and my grandma absolutely did. My mom's experiences in that house are in the book as well. So she knew there was something in there. My dad always tried to kind of downplay it a little bit. And that was who I lived with from the time they got divorced. My sister and I opted to live with our dad there. And, it was always something that I had dealt with very frequently there, but he always tried to downplay it. He had said forever that he had never had anything. It was all, our imagination, yada, yada, yada. But, just a few years ago, he finally admitted, no, I had things happen to me too, but I didn't want to scare you. It's like, well, it's too late, brother.
So he's trying to be the strong guy, right? And
right. Yeah. He was trying to be the strength for us, to keep us going, but he was just making it worse. Cause I would get so mad. Like, I'm seeing these things happening. I'm dealing with it every day. I'm not, not making it up. I'm not going crazy. I know I'm not seeing it. It's happening right in front of my face. So him and I would always argue about that. It really bothered me that he couldn't support me or would just brush it off like it wasn't happening.
Liam, do you got another question for him?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously there's a lot of people out there who are obviously very skeptical of the paranormal. How would you actually answer that to people?
Yeah, that's one of the things, that will kind of, I hate to say this on the internet because I know how the internet works, but this is one of the things that really will get me fired up because I've lived it, so frequently and dealt with it so frequently that when people are I get the skepticism because I am still, even, with my own experiences and everything, a very healthy skeptic. I'm looking for the rational explanation first before I can, say this could be something paranormal here or supernatural. But so I get that point. But the closed-minded people that are just got the blinders on and know there's no such thing as this, that's what'll get me kind of fired up about it, because you can't tell me that. I've lived it too much. I've seen it too much. We've got photographic evidence here. There's too much evidence out there for somebody to be completely closed off to the idea of paranormal.
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell us one of the stories that happened to you. Like tell us something scary.
Sure. So, one of the stories in the book, I always, I could, from a very early age, I could pinpoint from the moment that I walked into the house and crossed the threshold where it was at, where the spirit or spirits were at in the home.
So wait, you felt them or you just knew?
Feel it, and I could feel it. Call it what you will, intuition or what. I knew, and I'm getting goosebumps here thinking about that feeling of that electricity in the air where you can, what's going on, and there's a palpable change in the atmosphere when something's going to happen or something.
Did you feel it on your hands? Because that's what I kind of do when I feel it on my hands.
Mine was like a whole body thing, like just head to toe covered in goosebumps, and what's going on. But there were hot spots in the house, upstairs in a particular area, the storage room, and downstairs in the basement. So a story I'll share with you is I refused to go down into the basement. I hated it so much because the feeling down there was so much darker than anywhere else. I just felt whatever is down here is not good. It's not positive. But my family would all gather there at my grandma's house. She was kind of the glue that held the family together. So birthdays and everything, it was all celebrated there at grandma's house. And one particular day, it was my cousin's birthday party, and my grandma sent me downstairs, or asked me to go downstairs to the basement to get the extra chairs to bring upstairs. And at this point, I'm probably 10, 11 years old, maybe. And I'm just immediately ruined my day when she asked, like, why would you even ask me to go down there type of a situation? I don't want to do that. And I remember telling her no. And then my dad, slammed the newspaper down. I knew that was, you don't tell grandma no. And you're going to go down and get those chairs. Right. So, against my will, open the door, and the cold, damp air of the basement and everything just immediately hits you. That musty smell that was down there. And so I'm creeping down the stairs, and it's dark, and it's got one of the old like pull string light bulbs down there, and you had to hunt for it to find it, to get it to turn on. And I'm kind of blindly feeling for it, and I get that feeling, the whole body goosebumps, know that something's down there with me. And I hear this shuffling, like it was a very distinct sound. One of those, like you don't see it, but when you hear it, you know exactly what that sound is. And it was those metal fold-out chairs scraping against the concrete floor. And it's like, oh man, here we go. I know something's getting ready to happen.
You got to grab those chairs from.
I have to go get those. That's what I'm down there for. And it's like, man, like what I'm coming down here for, there's something right next to it. There's something interacting with it. And I turn the light on, and I turn around, and I see this shadow figure standing next to the chairs, and it points towards me, and the chairs all fall over.
Wow.
And in the book, I had kind of tweaked it a little bit and said the chairs came forward, came sliding across the floor. That was kind of tweaked because of the movie thing, if trying to think of how it would play out on screen. But the chairs, the whole stack of chairs falls completely over. 12 chairs, a dozen of those chairs are pushed over. And
now, did you grab the chairs or did you
no,
run?
I screamed and I ran straight up the stairs, and my dad met me at the top of the stairs and blocked me from going out,
Oh, you
which I
must
did
have
not
been
like.
terrorized.
And he proceeds to berate me of where the F are the chairs, get your ass back down there and get the chairs.
Oh,
And
man.
I'm trying to explain to him, like, no, man, I don't want to go down there. I don't want to go get those chairs. I tell him what happened, and I get the it's all in your imagination thing. It's like, man, that was another one of those fights that we had where it's like, I just saw this. This is what happened. So I had to go back down there and pick up the chairs and pull them back up. And
But the shadow figure wasn't there again?
it wasn't there when I went back downstairs. So that was one there that really bothered me and stuck with me. Yeah. But so many nights of covers being pulled off of me, waking up and seeing things in my room, those types of things. But that one really got me. Shadow figures. I would see full apparitions, see things moving around in my room, all kinds of things, man.
So is this always at night?
No.
Or
no, it would be, sometimes would be in the dark. There would be so many instances in broad daylight where, you walk into the kitchen and the chairs all pull out from the table. Cabinets open and close right in front of you. Doors open and close right in front of you. Didn't matter the time of day. There was no increase in activity during the night as compared to the day. It was really consistent. And on a good day, no exaggeration here whatsoever, or on a good week, with no exaggeration, I might get 2 days where something didn't happen. That was on a really good week. For the large part of, better part of 14 years of my life, it was nearly every single day.
Now, I imagine you got to go to school the next day when you're a kid.
Yeah.
And there's probably some nights where you don't get any sleep.
Yeah, that would be very accurate.
And so
and
the
when
teachers are asking you, why are you acting this way? And you can't explain to them, right?
Hold on just a sec. I'm wasting time here. My son says he's really wanting to go to the park. But yeah, to your point, there would be times where it would be, especially in an instance like I just shared, where like it really bothered me for days. Those instances. I'm looking.
Perks of children.
He's been so good up to this point, so I'm not going to complain.
Yeah, nope, I can't even be aggravated at him at this point. But there would be, in those extreme instances or encounters that would stick with me for a few days, or if it really ramped up at night where, things where I couldn't sleep, it would impact me. And the teachers would ask, and I covered this in the book as well. One teacher was just a total sweetheart about it. She believed, had her own experiences that we had talked about, where just a few minutes, buddy. We connected on that, and she kind of gave me some tips and pointers, some prayers to say when I would go home, and it would help for a little bit. And then it would start right back up. And that was kind of towards the end. That teacher was my 6th grade teacher. So that was 12-ish, 12, 13, around that time, when she kind of gave me some things that it did start getting a little bit better at that point. But my friends and everybody, like we were talking about earlier, if any of them objected or didn't believe, I invited them over. Everybody that came in that house, my neighborhood friends, all had an experience. And all the neighborhood kids refused to ever go back inside my house.
So you were popular for about 10 seconds till they saw the ghosts.
Yeah, and it was just the unwritten rule in the neighborhood, in the area, that we're not hanging out at Austin's. Austin can come hang out over here. So It was really, really something, man. It was a life-changing
But the problem is, it
experience.
wasn't just that house. When you moved, it kind of followed you.
So that's what I'm not sure of. So I don't know if it's that or those particular spirits or entities or whatever you want to call it that were attached to me and followed me, or am I just that
Or
unlucky
you're a
that
magnet, maybe. I don't
where
know.
I exactly where I go that things just happen. And because I stories in the book again, I had a really vivid dream, and it sounds silly to say, but in my dream, this man in a military uniform took me to an amusement park and told me that he was my grandfather and that he knew he'd scared me. And this was after a really intense thing that happened that scared me and startled me. I had this dream. He knew he'd scared me. He apologized for it and just let me know he always wanted me to know that he would be around and that he was just trying to protect me from the bad things that were in the house. And that he promised in this dream, he promised that he would never scare me again. And from that point forward, I never had another single encounter after that dream. But when I told my father about it and what the man looked like, I had seen the figure before, but I had told my dad that morning what I had dreamt about. And he went to the storage room and pulled out a picture of his father who had died when he was 8 in his military uniform, and that was the man that I saw in my dream.
So, as a child, that was when it stopped.
Yeah, I was I think I maybe right before I just turned 14.
Because you talked about later that a home you bought with your ex-wife. Shit went down.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was man, let me see what year. My oldest son was 4 and 5. I think he was 5 when we moved out. But a completely different house many years later. So I would have been 25, 26. And we had things happen in that house, and he was impacted by it. He was seeing things. He would say he went from being completely terrified to go in his room to one day it flipped to where he wouldn't leave his room. And every time that I would go to his room to check on him, he would shove me back out and say, "Corey doesn't want you in here. You're making Corey mad. Corey doesn't want you to come in here." And he would shove me back out, close his door. So my ex-wife and I started doing research and actually found out that there was a kid, an 18-year-old kid that had lived there that had passed away in a car accident. And his car actually had caught fire and he had burned alive in his car. So that was really weird that we had I think his last name was Robertson or something like started with an R, but we had found that wow, there's validation. How would he know that name was Corey if he wasn't telling the truth?
Wow.
This is absolutely unbelievable.
Do you have any other questions for him, Liam?
Yeah, can you tell us the worst experience obviously you've encountered there?
Sorry, my 4-year-old was talking to me again here. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, absolutely. So can you tell us the worst experience you obviously encountered there?
Yeah, at the house with my ex-wife.
Yes.
So yeah, absolutely. The worst thing we experienced together was here, take it. Was we were in the kitchen, we were cooking and making dinner one night, and we heard the silverware drawer started rattling. It was one of those again where it's like you can't see it, but you hear that sound, the silverware is rattling. And we pulled the drawer out, and you could see, it had been shaken up. And then from that point, from the moment that we opened that, we started having footsteps that were running in circles around us at the island counter. She was terrified. I had called, she wanted to move. She was ready to move out right then and there. And it's like, let's think about this. Let's try to, we couldn't go anywhere. I was really struggling financially at that point to try to support our family. She wasn't working, so I was doing it on my own. We didn't have the nest egg or the ability to pack up and leave and go rent another house. So I was trying to figure out how I can make it work. So I had talked her into letting me try to do some research. Let me try to get a hold of somebody that might be able to help us. I found a local paranormal group, again, very skeptical of, because, we're in the middle of Indiana, so it's not like these paranormal groups are a highly reputable group or something, so I wasn't expecting much with these people.
Elijah shows up at your house.
Right. Yeah. So my hope was that it would pacify my wife enough to get her to calm down, and maybe it'll slow down, and hopefully nothing ever happens again. But when they come out, they say, we want to do an overnight investigation in the home. I agree to it under the pretense that I could stay with them and validate everything that they're doing, that they're not just going to blow smoke up our ass and say, oh my God, that we found this and this and this. I wanted to be there. So I agreed. My wife and our two boys, we just had the two at the time, went to stay at her parents'. So the worst thing that I experienced there followed this investigation. From the moment that they hooked their equipment up, everything was going nuts. All of their instruments were going absolutely insane from the time they turned them on, plugged them in, what have you. There was so much evidence captured that night. My son's toys rolling across the room, across the toy chest, EVPs, all kinds of stuff. So we do a complete overnight thing. About 2 or 3 in the morning, they're ready to pack it up and go. Now I'm left alone in this house, and I can feel the energy and the environment is extremely heavy. I in no way wanted to be in that house by myself as a 26-year-old man. I was terrified because of the feeling that I had. I knew that what we had just done pissed it off. I could feel that. It was palpable. So they leave. I remember, like, I'm not even going to bed. I'm going to stay up. I'm going to watch TV. I'm going to try to not think about this as much as I can. And as I'm sitting there watching TV, I could feel something all around me. Bless his heart, man. I'm sorry, guys. He's going crazy in there, but I could feel something all around me. And I'm like, I'm going to bed. I tried to call my wife, obviously, middle of the night. They're asleep. I'm like, I'm going to go. No shame in admitting this. Okay. Again, 26 years old. I hid under the covers, full up underneath the covers. And oh my goodness.
Okay. So let's just wrap it up here. We got a couple more questions for you.
Yeah,
so have you just try to keep it brief? We'll wrap it up. And, have you seen anything lately?
I have not seen anything lately, but I have, we've experienced some things recently in the home, that are going to be in the next book.
A next book?
Yeah.
Wow.
We are working on this. I am working on
Holy
the
shit.
second book. It is going to be a series. We might be able to get 3 books out of it total.
Holy shit. My next question is, have you seen UFOs? And if so, how many times?
Twice in my life. Once with my dad, and once before my ex-wife and I moved into the house that we were talking about there. we had a 370. We rented a home that sat on 375 acres, and I saw a craft one night on my way home from work, as right out there in that open farm area there. But my dad and I had saw two parked, or not parked, but hovering over nearby where we grew up at. There was a Crane naval base there, and they had some destructive things there. What all they had done, or what all they do or did at the time. But we sat and watched. We were going to dinner one night. We were parked in the parking lot of a restaurant and watched two craft hover over this naval base for 20 minutes and then shoot off into the distance and disappeared in a matter of seconds.
Now, the reason I ask this, I've never seen a UFO. Have you seen a UFO, Liam?
I have not.
So, someone who's been dealing with paranormal shit all his life, Austin here, he's also seeing UFOs. Is there a connection? I think there is.
Possible.
It's very Skinwalker Ranch-ish, if you ask me.
I would love to see that place. Yeah.
When you see
who knows,
ghostly images, but you're also seeing UFOs, like they're not supposed to go together, but somehow they are. And
the thing there, timing wise, I had seen some things there at that house right around that same time. So I mean, who knows, man? Maybe there is. I'm very open-minded about all of this stuff. I won't pretend to know that or pretend that I have any answers for you. I can just kind of relay my own experiences.
So wrapping it up here, where can people get your book?
You can get it on Amazon.com, Barnes and Noble, Walmart, Books A Million, anywhere that has, sells books, you should be able to get it to, but you can get it online at anywhere that you can really think of.
Sweet. I'm actually going to be ordering this because I really want to read.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I appreciate all the support from the guys in the group and everything. I know the Touch Bros had read it, sent them an autographed copy, and they really enjoyed it. And I love seeing that we've had nothing but positive reviews from book critics and people that know what they're talking about. And that was something I was very nervous about because I've never written a book before, had no clue what I was doing.
Forward in the next book.
I had no clue what I was doing. So to see all the great feedback and everything coming through, it's been really cool.
So this is going to be interesting because we do a segment on the show called "Knowledge is Power." So we're gonna see what everyone says here. So knowledge is power. We say what the moral of the story is. So we're going to see what the moral of the story is. So here it is. Knowledge is power. Liam, I'm going to force you to go first.
Knowledge is power. What can we learn from this unbelievable story? Well,
you can use anything on this episode, by the way.
That's just it, though. We've covered absolutely everything, but I don't know. I'm actually stumped on this one. I mean, it's told that much amazing stuff here. I'm stumped. I really am.
Can we come back to you, maybe?
I'll have a think about it. Yeah, go.
Okay, Austin. What is your moral of the story?
At the root of the story and this book is the will to move on, to carry on, to succeed and live the life that you want to live, and never settle for contention or anything of that nature. There are some very personal things in there that were very hard to write about and put myself back in those things or back in those times. And for me, that's what I always tell people. There's some real life things in there that people can connect to. So that's just got to keep fighting on.
That is our motto here at FN Wrestling. So, my moral of the story goes back to somewhere near the beginning of this podcast where we talk about Ric Flair And my moral is, do not use marijuana before you go on a podcast. Just don't. It's a bad idea.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah.
Liam, are
Or
you ready?
shit in trash bags on an airplane.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go. My knowledge is power. Even 26-year-olds are scared of ghosts.
That's
Yeah.
true. Knowledge is power.
Guys, that
Never
dream
stop
that I
laughing at
had,
that.
that dream I had that night after that investigation was so terrifying, man. But some amazing stories in there. So if you guys read the book, let me know what you guys think about it.
Once again, thank you, Liam. Where can we find all our stuff, all our links, and all that kind of stuff?
Well, you can head to fnwrestling.com, right at the very bottom. No, bit low. Right, there you go. All our social medias are there. You can obviously join AFW. We're currently in season 3. Everybody can join, right? I'm sure they can.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You can also head to prowrestlingtees.com/effing wrestling. Buy yourself a Wrestling with a Paranormal shirt. We've got the Magic of Wrestling shirt. We've got the All Effing Wrestling shirt. Have we got loads, right? I'm sure we have.
No, we got tons of shirts.
There you go. And yeah, don't forget to tune into the Magic of Wrestling tomorrow as I have Christopher Mason as we talk about Triple H taking over WWE. And of course, Canada Dry. Don't forget Sunday.
Yes, we have the big show. Not Paul White. We have a big show. We got Natalia Markova on the show.
Well,
it's Natalia Markova. So tune into that on Sunday. That is at 12:30 Eastern. That's an hour earlier than we normally do it. And remember, keep on wrestling with the Paranormal.
And don't forget to have your cat spayed or neutered. Help control the pet population.
What about dogs? Do you want dogs spayed and neutered too?
No, cats. Just cats.
Just cats.
Dogs
Just
are right.
Just
Yeah.
cats. And remember, just keep fighting.